In India, we have been hearing a lot about social enterprises, so we went to Bangalore to find out what they are.
I believe that the biggest threat to our environment today, biggest threat to the human civilization, is the thought that somebody else will make a difference. We are all waiting for corporations to make a difference, for governments to make a difference, for NGOs to make a difference. Everybody is aware of all the environmental problems that we have. There are so many environmental problems that we are facing today, whether it is air pollution leading to climate change, whether it's species extinction, whether it is plastics pollution and things like that. So everybody's aware of all these problems, but nobody is being driven to action.
When I was in Goldman Sachs, I was enjoying my life, right? But pretty much the life was a bit of unidimensional life which I was living in. And if I ask a very simple question to myself, what is the impact I am generating to the world, right? I could not get a good answer. And being in India and seeing general livelihood issues all around the country, right? And given the fact that India is on an extremely good trajectory of growth and there are a lot of opportunities, right? So what I realized is the kind of passion and skills that people like us got, we can add much more value. It was not about money, of course. I'm earning much less than what I used to earn at Goldman Sachs. It was more about the value that we can add.
For the scale of social problems in India, no one organization is going to be able to solve it. There are a lot of people jumping in and solving problems, going where businesses cannot go, where business models do not exist, or sometimes government also cannot go or be good at, is where we are focused on.
A social sector means, looking at some people that are deprived of today's advantages, today's benefits, and how can we bring that technology?
We believe the next generation of entrepreneurs can solve the world's problems. The whole host of people who are poor, who are underserved, they need a lot of products and solutions. They deserve a lot of good products and solutions which are affordable to them, which are accessible to them, which unfortunately they have not got it. Be it in health, be it in education, be it in agriculture, and that's the way we'll bring about change in their masses in a very sustainable way.
The keywords that define us essentially. So one is agriculture, agri-finance, right? Second, it's financial inclusion, where the segment particularly that we are working is unserved and underserved. If I talk about farmers particularly, it's completely underserved segment.
So we have these two sets of funds internally we divide, which is a technology enablement and an empowerment that you invest once, but then somebody's life gets changed. For example, an artisan who needs a specific device he cannot buy, you spend this 5 lakhs and that person helps. So that's a one-time investment, but it's a very pivotal, very catalytic element for that person who cannot afford that. And suddenly after that, his life changes.
The goal of Media is to provide medical imaging solutions across all organs and across all modalities. There are millions of people who do not have access to a specialized retina specialist who can evaluate their condition based on if they do or do not have diabetic retinopathy. So we have certain algorithms which can do that for them, be that in a city like Mumbai or in some village that nobody's heard of.
We have two end goals in mind for India. Globally, our goal is to get children out of poverty in urban areas. In India, particularly, we focus on the education for the children. In India, we also realize that family is a big unit, and unless that family is stable and they are beyond that poverty level, that only then the child has the right atmosphere to grow. So we started working on the family economic stability part, and there are two pillars to that. One is the increased income of the household, and second is the financial inclusion bit. So we have a very strong focus in measuring impact, but still if I have to compare my impact in education versus in livelihood versus in healthcare, there is no clear metrics to define that. So I think that framework is missing, and I think there, over a period of time we should be hopefully able to develop that and attract even better talent in this sector.
A lot of children find it very, very difficult to learn mathematics, science, social, if just teacher says, all right, you open the book and study, just you have to study, okay, this is the concept, you have to study. No, it's not going to work. What if we teach them with some creative objects? So we show them some puzzles and like, this is how it works and these are the concepts. For example, gravitation or magnetism. Or we show them some, mathemagic and teach them maths. How interesting that would be. So our goal is to spread education through creative learning.
India has always been supportive, even if visitors come, foreigners come, we have this wording saying, you have to treat, even if you do not have enough foods, first give it to the visitors, then to yourself. So this kind of, in the culture, it is quite embedded. And when I look into my own company in Samsung, as I was telling, that co-prosperity is a very vital key element as a drivers, as a value set. If you have to solve a complex problem, then can I put my AI technology that I put for a voice assistant for some water management? The core technology is still the same, but if I do that way, then obviously they will benefit. I think technology is not panacea for all problems, but technology these days can enable in various ways. Even simple things that we talked about, a tablet that we built, and when we share with students, they built very different perspectives, and one person in that village using that device, it becomes like a window to the world.
My projects, I realized that hearing disability is the most impacted one in India. It's the number one, and there is a stigma attached. Nobody wants to put hearing aid. Spectacles people can put, but hearing aid they don't want to put. There is a stigma, there is people, if I put hearing aid, I will not get a job also, because you will feel that I will not be able to perform well. So I want to break that loop.
Recently we have supported under the Invent program. We have done the 50 investment in agri sector, which is agri technology, agri business and all. 40 plus investment in the affordable healthcare products. Affordable healthcare product means those products which is easily available for the below the pyramid people. The pyramid means those have a earning not more than $5 per day.
So Social Alpha is trying to enable that journey for the entrepreneurs. We know it's a hard journey, and that's why it's a journey less taken. You would want, every maybe engineering graduate coming out of a engineering college is building a food delivery app or a Uber-like solution, but nobody is building a solution for a small and marginal farmer, while the problems are still there, right? We want to maybe help them in that journey, look at what the gaps are, we fill the gaps. So the first obviously gap is to get them started. We need some capital, we give them some funds, we give them incubation support, which involves mentoring, access to experts, access to compliance services, shared services, all the early stage hurdles that stop you from kind of scaling your enterprise. And then the biggest thing I spoke about was market access. It is a challenging, there is a need, but it is not translated into a market demand, or it is in the process. So how do we make that happen as an ecosystem? And that's where it's more collaboration that is needed between various players. Investment versus profitability is not an either or for us. We focus on sustainability, and the sustainability can of course come if an initiative is profitable or is generating enough value for which people are willing to kind of fund. So for us, core is value proposition. It is the same concept of business we are applying in the social sector. For us, impact actually comes from the mission of the enterprise. Because I always argue with people, some people say no, model of Ola and Uber is also a social enterprise because they are creating jobs. But somewhere you go down to the mission of the enterprise is not to really provide jobs to the drivers, it's actually to provide good mobility services. So we define that, you know, if an entrepreneur is, the mission of the enterprise is actually to create impact, then profitability is actually a way or a means to achieve that mission itself. Impact is the reason for our existence, and profitability is a means to sustain that mission.
I look back, I think I realized that I was very, very passionate for a very long time about education, and because I always felt, my father is a teacher, and I always felt that is something that is going to really make the biggest difference. Secondly, during my work in the automobile space, I realized, you know, the kind of people I worked with, the drivers, the mechanics, how much, you know, they were not able to access finance, how much health issues they had. And there was a huge inclusion issue, awareness issue, financial literacy issue. And I was looking for, you know, ways how I can solve that. So there was a long-term education emotion and a short-term livelihood, financial inclusion aspiration. Interestingly, it all fell in place with Michael and Susan Gill Foundation.
So I believe that music is a very powerful language, not just for communicating a message, but for retaining that message deep into the consciousness of a listener. The songs that we learned during our childhood are songs that we remember forever. The morals that we learn through those songs are morals that stick with us forever. So I believe that music can be that absolute catalyst to drive people from awareness to action. Everybody is going to come across a time in their lives when they have to make a decision whether they have to follow fear or they have to follow passion. So either they can be fearful about not being successful in their lives, fearful of, you know, not being able to stand up as a society, or not getting married into a good family, or whatever. Or the second option is to do something that you're passionate about. I followed passion throughout my life because I believe that that is the only way to be happy. So everybody need to empower themselves within their own lives, so that so that they believe that they themselves can make a difference rather than waiting for other people to make a difference for them.
Today we have been listening about social entrepreneurs that have ideas about designing the classroom in different ways so that the teachers and the students are able to interact in a creative manner. We have here about detergents that are made out of organic components and that don't pollute the water after using them. We have here about digital platforms to enable women to enter the workplace, and about many more solutions that people are generating and that are sustainable. I think this is the key here. They are both impactful, they're having a positive impact in the society, that's their core mission, and they're doing that in such a way that they're generating a revenue that allows them to sustain themselves. That's, in essence, a social enterprise. I think more and more talent are realizing that living a meaningful life may take the path of doing something meaningful. And this is what social ventures are all about.